Hello everybody, welcome back. Today we are going to be working on the sum and difference pattern. The last thing we did was the powers pattern, so the product of powers pattern. Now we are going to be working on the sum and difference pattern, and it's a little bit different because of the fact that if you remember what the word sum stands for, it is the answer to an addition problem, which, as you can see, has addition there, and then difference has the subtraction, which that one has the subtraction. So what that means when you have using the sum and difference pattern, that means one of your quantities is going to be a positive and one of your quantities is going to be a negative. So that's the pattern we're going to be looking at today. So having said that, let's go ahead and do it. So I'm going to do this using the FOIL method to get as much practice using FOIL as possible. So if you remember from a few videos back, FOIL stood for first, oops, I almost put not even almost, I started putting an O there when I already have it. Outer, inner, and last, which is basically the distributive property, is basically all that is. It's just a fancy word. It's got to be fancy with it. So we have x plus 2 and then x minus 2. So the first thing I'm going to do, that rhymed, is I'm actually going to rewrite it because it's a little bit small and I write larger than that. So we have x plus 2, x minus 2. So I'm going to do my first, which is x times x, which is x squared. Then I'm going to do my outer, which is x times negative 2, so negative 2x. Then I'm going to do my inner, which is 2 times x, which is a positive 2x. And then I'm going to do my last, which is 2 times negative 2, which is a negative 4. Okay, so here's the pattern. When you're doing the sum and difference pattern, your A's are going to be the same and your B is going to be the same. So your A is always going to be the same and your B is going to be the same. The only difference between the two, one is going to be positive, one's going to be negative. What that does, if you look at this middle section right here, and this will happen every time when it comes to the sum and difference pattern, negative 2 plus 2 becomes 0. They cancel each other out. So when you're using the sum, that kind of looks like an upside down purse. Sorry. I digress. So whenever you're doing the sum and difference pattern, that middle section will always go away. So in the end, you will be left with a squared minus b squared. So x squared minus 4, which if you look at this, a is x, so a squared is x squared, b is 2, which is b squared, which is 4, but you always keep it a negative in the center. And the reason is because a negative times a positive will always be a negative. So your answer then is x squared minus 4. Okay, so that is your pattern when it comes to sum and difference. So technically speaking, you do not, when you notice that this is the type of problem that you're working with, then you don't necessarily have to do the full FOIL. When you start recognizing it and you see, oh, I've got the same A, I've got in both of my binomials here, I have the same A, I have the same B, only one's positive and one negative, so I can immediately then just go straight to my my little a squared minus b squared, and I know I'm done. I don't have to do the full FOIL. But I would rather see you do the full FOIL until you get it down. Obviously on the next one, you know it's going to happen, so if you want, you don't technically have to do the full FOIL, but on your assignment, as you move forward, make sure that you're looking for recognizing those different things, okay? So having said that, let's move down here to example number 2. So we're going to do the exact same thing, only this time I'm going to just do straight into our pattern, which again is going to be a squared minus b squared. So we have the same A, we have the same B. The only difference is one is positive, one is negative. I recognize that this is a sum and difference pattern, so I take my A and I square it. So 5x, I take my A and I square it. And then it's going to be subtraction, because remember, positive times a negative is always a negative. And then I take my B and I square it. So now I'm going to go ahead and do, that square goes to everything. So 5 times 5 is 25, x squared minus 2 times 2, which is 4. Do not mistake this negative 2 there with that square. Do not mistake that as a negative 2 times negative 2. If I had parentheses around it like that, then it would be negative 2 times negative 2. However, because I do not have that there, it is negative 2 times 2, which is a negative 4. Okay, so make sure that you keep this negative in between them, because that is the pattern, to have that negative between them. Okay, if you need any help with that, let me know. All right, example 2. Oop, I don't want you to do the try it on your own yet. Okay, so the example 2, again, a squared minus b squared is what it's going to look like in the end. My a is x, my b is 2y. I just need to square them both. So x squared minus 4y squared. And I know I put my x before my y because x comes before y alphabetically. And yeah, that's why. So if you have any questions with this, if you need to see the full FOIL again, I'll go ahead and show you the full FOIL. My first x squared, my outer negative 2xy, my inner positive 2xy, and my last negative 4y squared. This section right here, negative 2 plus 2, cancels out, and I'm left with x squared minus 4y squared. So you can do either way. You're going to get the same answer, and they are both obviously correct if they're the same answer. So that's one way that you can check yourself as well, because we all know that it is very good to check yourself before you wreck yourself, all right? So make sure if you do it this way, you can check it by doing it the full FOIL way, or vice versa. If you prefer to do the FOIL way first, you can then practice doing it this way. It is fully up to you on how you do this method, okay? So, as long as you're doing it correctly. If you're not doing it correctly, then I very much want you to do the full FOIL method, because I want to make sure that you get it done correctly. All right, I want you to go ahead and try it on your own. I'm going to get this set, and then I would like you to please pause the video. And yes, I did throw a fraction in there. Again, I like to make sure that you are with me when you do some of the harder problems. That way we can work together on them. So please pause the video, and we will try it on your own, and then I will be right back to help you make sure that you did it correctly. All right, pause now, please. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. We are back, and let's go ahead and do this problem together. So it is the exact same thing as before. We have a squared minus b squared. I'm going to do full FOIL method with this one as well, just to make sure. I'm going to do it both ways because I know not everybody does it the same way. So my a is 1/3. My b is p. That rhymes. Okay, so I'm going to square them both. Remember, when you square a fraction, I take the square to both terms within the fraction, both the numerator and the denominator. So 1/3 squared is 1/9, because 1 times 1 is 1, 3 times 3 is 9. And then p squared is, well, it's p squared, okay? So now we're going to put those together and put a negative sign between them. So we have 1/9 minus p squared. All right, it is important to put this in specifically your a first and your b second when putting them together. I want to make sure that that negative goes with my p squared, not my 1/9. And then after I do that, this is technically correct. But I do want you to start getting in the habit of putting your variables first. This is also correct. The biggest thing here is to make sure that the P is the one that gets that negative sign, not the 1/9. Okay? So either or of those would be correct. If you did the FOIL method, we have 1/3 plus P times 1/3 minus P. I do my first, so I do 1/3 times 1/3, which is 1/9. I do my outer, which is a negative 1/3 P, my inner, which is a positive 1/3 P, and my last, which is negative P squared. This middle section goes a bye-bye, they cross each other out, and I'm left with 1/9 minus P squared. And again, you could have turned it around to negative P squared plus 1/9. Either of those would be correct. So again, if you have any questions, let me know. Email me if you're not one of my students. If you are one of my students, please join me in Zoom. Again, I would like to see everybody at least one time a week. I want to make sure that you are watching these videos and that you understand what they are saying. Even if it's just to pop in and say, hey, Miss Smith, I get it. I've already done my assignment, whatever the case may be. I just want to say hi, do my check-in, and that's it. Even if it's that quick, please check in with me to make sure that you understand this, because I want to do everything I can to ensure I've done everything I can to support you. Okay? So have a great rest of your day, and if you need me, you know where to find me. Subscribe. That way you know when it is that new videos come out. All right? Thank you very much, and have a fantastic rest of your day.